All right, guys, so we are going to stay on course part 2, but before I start, I want to tell you guys, get ready. We're going to start a 30-part series. That sounds a little overwhelming. Get ready for being at church a lot, whole bunch. Now, we're going to talk a 30-part series about blessings. I think it's so important. There's so many other things that we're going to go through. And so we talked the last few weeks, we talked about blessings and how God blesses our lives. We talked about the prayer of Jabez, how God wants to expand us, how he expands ordinary people, and you don't have to be something special. I knew I needed to do this. I'm sorry. He expands ordinary people. He's there to help all of us. And then we went on to talking about how we all have an anointing for our special call that God has for us. And how it says in Psalms 105, verse 15, don't touch my anointed. God doesn't want people hindering his work. We talked about how we receive blessings. Luke 6:38. I talked about it during offering. But give, and it shall be given. Good measure. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Part of being blessed is making sure that we're a blessing. But then we talked about further on last week is if you want to be blessed, if you want to have blessings, you have to be in position to get them. Right? You can't have certain things unless you're in position to have them. And one of the biggest things that we talked about in Psalm 119 verse 1 said, you're blessed when you stay on course. And so last week we talked about staying on course. And this week, stay on course part 2 is our discussion. And sometimes staying on course is difficult for all of us. I can tell you, my grandpa, we never had the four-wheelers chasing cows when I was a kid. We had my brother and my 2 legs. And the horses never worked half the time, so they were always too terrible and more dangerous to try and work cattle with. So we ended up on our 2 legs, and we ended up being the ones to do it. And one of the frustrating things I'll never forget is, I had tennis shoes, because you never always knew when we would be moving cows or working cows. And the cows had gotten out in the meadow. My grandpa had this area that he wanted for hay, and so he frowned upon the cows being in that pasture. So we were to move them back out of there. And so, of course, he drives the pickup. Well, my brother and I are to be out there chasing him every which way, heading him off. And, get this one, get that, while he's smoking his pipe, watching us, And my brother and I were hoofing it. And I can remember, I've got the cows and I've got them moving. And they are taking off, and it's great. And I'm going behind them, I'm kind of keeping them going. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing a lot of movement around my feet. And so I do what anybody in my position would do. I took a moment to check on my surroundings. At which point, I didn't know. I had no idea. I wasn't invited, but I had interrupted a big, giant garter snake convention. I don't know what they were doing, if it was like their National Western Stock Show. I don't know what they were doing, but there were jillions of them. I'm not making this up. It's not like there were 2 or 3. They were all around my feet. And I'm already sinking a little bit in the water. And they're, against my legs and stuff. And I'm not liking it. So now I'm high-stepping it. And I'm trying to stay on course. Get me? On course to follow the cows. But I decide it's faster to get that way because there's less snakes. And I'm running, and my grandpa is honking the horn. No! I'm like, Grandma, I can't. Snakes! Are they rattlers? No, then run through them. Not doing it. Sorry. We have rules. I can't do everything. I didn't like it. It bothered me. But the point that I'm trying to talk about is we have to stay on course. The cows moved back around. We had to get back the other way. But you have to head in a direction. And if we want God to bless us, we need to be in a level of a direction that's the path that he wants. I've told you this. If God calls you to do something, he's obligated to show up. And many times we'll stand there and we want to think God out. We want to figure him out. And we want to start telling him everything that he needs to do for us. And many times he's saying, no, I'm sending you in this direction. The provision's here, but you need to come over here. You need to come in this direction. And so that course sometimes gets us a little cattywampus. In fact, what we do is we take pit stops. You ever watch The Tortoise and the Hare? I used to love watching the cartoon, the turtle and the rabbit running. But pit stops, they mess you up. You don't finish the race. So our first point today is no pit stops. So when we think about this in the Bible, pit stops, what happens? What do we as Christians do in our walk? We start walking in a direction. I think God has me to do this. This is what I want to do. We're going this way. And then all of a sudden, one little thing comes up, and it's like someone wrecked the caddy, man. Whoa! The big thing my grandpa used to always say is upset. I never heard that terminology from anybody else but my grandfather. If something fell over or got knocked over, it upset. You upset this. And it very quickly, we find ourselves getting upset. Any little thing, whoa! Why does that happen? Oftentimes it happens because we're not staying the course and not recognizing God's hand of provision in it. So the Israelites, we talked about how many miracles they saw with their own eyes as God delivered them out of Egypt. Miracle after miracle after miracle. We're out of Egypt. And we're getting to walk forward. And not but days later, they come and they see a sea. It's a big sea. They don't feel like swimming. They don't even want to try swimming. And they start grumbling to Moses. Here comes Egypt. We're all going to die. What's the deal? And Moses is like, well, just relax. Stay calm. God's faithful. It'll be okay. We'll get there. And he reaches out to God. And God says in Exodus 14, verse 15, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Now, wait a second. This is the God that we get to come to and we get to ask our prayer requests. And he's sitting there going, what are you asking me? Start walking across the Red Sea. Go! Get moving. What's holding you back? Have you ever had somebody come and ask you permission? You're like, why are you asking me permission for this? Well, I wanted to be sure. I just wanted to. God's like, no. I told you I'm delivering you from Egypt. Why are you second guessing it just because the way things look are bothering you? We talked about the shipmaster last week and how you can't see. And people are calling directions to him, and he bases that. And that we need to let God give us our direction. We need to let Jesus guide us. Where are we going? So once he guides us, and once he gives us a level of direction, and this is where I'm going, what is our next thing to do? Keep walking. Keep moving. Our biggest struggle we have is we hold ourselves back and go, it doesn't look right. Doesn't taste right. Things don't look right. I don't know. I don't know about this. And our insecurity holds us back. You want the blessing. You stay on course. You keep moving. One of the biggest things that we do in any type of thing, you put somebody in any type of scenario where they're right now this time of year is the corn maze. This is everybody's doing the corn maze. Have you ever gone to the corn maze and just like, okay, I know I'm a pastor, but it's fun to mess with people a little bit. When people are a little stressed out, and you can tell they're a little disoriented, and you're like, wouldn't go to the right, it's another half hour, and you start walking, they're like, and they start following you. You ever get people to start following you through the corn maze because they don't know where they're going? They know they're lost, they're frustrated, they've already given up. And of course, I took a picture of the map with my phone, and I'm okay, this way. Okay, they're like, that dude's doing something, we're following him. But the fact of the matter is we get derailed very quickly because all of a sudden everything looks like, oh, corn. Did we go this way? Will we do that? So now I like to spice it up. I like to go in the dark. My wife loves it. I'm not going. That's what you tell her. I'm like, no, this is fun. We got to do it, the kids, Then I run up ahead and I hide in something. I jump out at the kids, And Bree's like, would you just knock it off? Let's just get through the thing. I go, this is supposed to be fun. We want to have fun. The point is in life, the littlest things, we get disoriented and all of a sudden, I'm overwhelmed and I can't let it happen. I can't do anything. And God say, why are you even stressing out about this? I already told you I'm going to take care of you. I already told you I'm taking you out of Egypt. Why does the Red Sea bother you? I'm the God that made that sea. If that was such a big deal, I would have told you it was a big deal. It's not a big deal. Start walking. We don't do that. We need to do that. We need to change our mindset and go, okay, I'm not taking a pit stop. Think about it for a second. Did Noah know that the flood would have him in that ark for 40 days? No, he just built it. He had no idea. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they had no idea that that God would show up in that furnace and take care of them. No, they were just faithful. So we don't have the play-by-play book. And you go, well, I mean, it would be nice to have the playbook. Oh, no. God tried that. See, he told Peter ahead of time, hey, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter did just what we do. I don't believe that. I'm not going to do that. So even when he gives you the play-by-play book, you don't listen. That's why he doesn't give it to us all the time. He's trying to keep us right in tune, keep us on track, keep us listening, keep us moving. But oftentimes, we get so distracted with everything around us that we can't get there. Ruth, she had no idea. She's going out to this field to be the servant. She's picking up the stuff. She had no idea that one day she would be the one that owned those fields. We don't know the future. We don't know what God has for us. But one thing we do know is he's directing it. Man makes his plan, but God directs his steps. We're not going to have every single thing figured out. But if we want to be blessed, we have to stay on course. And staying on course is getting rid of the distractions. No pit stops. Nope, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's this one thing I do, not these 10 things I dabble in. I'm headed this way, and this is the way I go. This is what I do. This is how I'm doing it. And we go forward. But then the next thing we do is we begin to have nostalgia. Just like the Israelites, they look back, well, back in Egypt, we had meat and food. Now we're in the middle of the desert and we're going to starve to death. And they're stressing out, this is so horrible. But wait a second, we do that. I see couples, remember in the day when you used to take me out on dates and we actually got to spend a lot of time? No, now you've got 3 kids, and as soon as you turn your back, one of them's destroying the bathroom. There's not time for that. It doesn't mean that they don't care about each other. Things change. Our lives change. And we have to be able to go with the flow. What are you doing, God? How is this happening? What does this mean? If you look at Exodus chapter 16, verse 3, we hear the Israelites, if only the Lord had just killed us back in Egypt. This would have been so much better. There were pots filled with our food, and then go on to verse 17. After what happened is Moses said, okay, God, we have a problem. They're upset. We don't have food. God said, I'll give them food. Give them much they need. No big deal. They need to gather it and to go out. These are the rules behind it. So the people of Israel did what the rules were. Okay, we got to go out and gather our food. And some gathered a lot, and some gathered a little. And now they just had another miracle. Think about this just for a second. They just got food that came down from heaven. And you know what the first thing they do is? Well, I don't know if God will show up tomorrow. I mean, yes, he showed up today, but I don't know if he's going to bless us tomorrow. So put them in your purse. They're telling their wife, keep a little on the side. Put that in a jar. Because they don't believe. Now, they just had a miracle. God says, keep walking. And we want to be blessed. You get this miracle, and right away, well, it's the only blessing I've had in 26 years. I ain't going to get another for another 33. I ain't doing it. Not doing another thing. And they miss out on what happened. So what happens? Some had a lot. They had stuff that was left over. But each family had what it needed. And in verse 18, Moses said, hey, don't be stuffing it in your purse. Don't be keeping any extras, guys, because every day we'll be blessed. We'll be taken care of. But some of them, and we always say like some of them, and we read this like we're some self-righteous Christian. Can you believe they did that? No, we're those people. We're doing it every day. We're doing it every day. If you could raise your hand and be like, oh yeah, I believe God always shows up in everything, and it's hard. I get it, because we're human beings. We live in a fallen world, and the world around us is difficult to go, oh yeah, I see that God is taking care. I see that God has this. Sometimes it's very hard. I get it. But it's this one thing I do. Stay the course. Start walking. Okay, I have this. I'm going to head in that direction. And then what happens is, he says, don't keep it. But some of them didn't listen. And by then, it was full of maggots and had a terrible smell. And then Moses was mad. I don't know if he was mad that they didn't listen to God or if he didn't like the smell. No, I'm joking. He obviously didn't like that they weren't listening to God. But I wouldn't have liked the smell if I was living next door to somebody with the maggots and everything else. We all know what dead animals smell like. It's a gift, right? We're all like, you smell it for 6 months. It's a blessing. We love it. Listen, I'm telling you, so important. He told them. He guided them. They had the nostalgia. Oh, nothing's going to go. And then what happens? As soon as God gives them the next provision, they mess it up. They mess it up. Do we find ourselves in our own lives walking to the place and then just messing it up? Oh, I'm not doing it. I can't. I don't know. You know, God blesses us with food, with money, with other things in our lives. And right away we go, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to help that person. I'm not, far be it from me to get involved in that, because we don't know what tomorrow holds. And our blessing gets withheld because we end up having something that gets rotten and we end up with the maggots. How can you enjoy a blessing when you have to get all the stink out of it? It doesn't work. And so many, many times, I think the biggest problem we have is recognizing that your circumstances are going to change throughout your entire life. You know, we always talked about the only thing consistent in life is change. And the biggest thing that they talk about with cops, the only thing that cops hate is change. And the only thing that cops want is change. They want this change, but not that. And this needs to change. But we, as human beings, cannot stand change. But it's the very thing that makes this world go. This world's changing right now. Fall. The trees are changing. The grass is changing. Everything around us is changing. You know, the big thing of the WIN, W-I-N, what is it, Whiskey Indian November? No. What's important now? We can't look back at 20 years ago. We can't look back at 3 weeks ago. We can't look back at yesterday. You can't fix it. It's done. It's sealed. It's over. We can't do it. But what's important now? The Israelites can stand at the edge of the Red Sea and be, I don't know what we're going to look at this mess and we're going to, or they can go, we need to go this way because we're going to die. Something's going to change. We need to do something different. And when that gets in our own hearts, when we can recognize that our focus is to be on what's important now. What direction did God call me? Boom. Stay the course. Keep walking. Don't stop and look around and go, why am I over here? I can't believe I'm over here. Have you ever done those hunts? We used to do this in high school, that you would take a compass. You'd go up in the mountains, bunch of us boys, different projects we did with the school. And you had to read a map. And you had to go certain degrees, so many paces. Find a landmark. At that landmark, you turn another certain degrees and go so many paces. And I can tell you time and time again, there was always one goofball in the group going, guys, we're going the wrong way. And you're like, the compass said to go this way. We're at 146 degrees. We can't be wrong. We're wrong. I'm telling you, this doesn't look right. We do that, and we have those same people in our own lives that are telling us that. We're like, I'm headed this way. And somebody, I wouldn't do that for you. I wouldn't try it. You're going to die. It's just ugly. And so what do? We stop and we derail and we get the nostalgia and we start looking around and then we get distracted and then we get lost and we don't stay on course. And then we sit there and say, God, why aren't you blessing me? Where is this blessing? And he's like, it's 126 degrees to the north and all you have to do is walk there. Why are you asking me? I gave you the map. I gave you the compass. Go. What else do you want from me? We have the map. We have the compass. Do we forget that we have that for our own lives, in our own hearts? What's God given us? He completely blessed us. He completely set us up. And then we sit there and go, well, I just don't understand why this isn't working. And we're the same people as the Israelites, standing there. God gave us miracle after miracle in our own lives. He spares our lives. He helps our lives. He restores our lives. And then we sit there and go, but I don't get it. I don't get where I'm going. I don't get why I'm going there. It doesn't make sense. But what I can tell you is if you dedicate yourself to staying on course, if you dedicate yourself, say, I'm not letting that. I'm not letting that influence me. You ever see these guys, and I say these guys, it's not like me. When I played football, I was a running back. You know why I was a running back? I was faster than the big boys, and it hurt when they took me down, so I just kept running so they wouldn't take me down. But you watch these kids, these brutes, man, and then they play football, and they head through there. They're knocking people out of there. What are they going to, all of a sudden, you ever seen it in football? One of the kids stops and goes, boy, I wonder if I should go that way. I wonder why God's allowing all these guys to stand in my way. Jesus, if you would just make, no. They get in there, they drop a shoulder, maybe throw an elbow with I don't know, they get aggressive, these kids, and they penetrate. You go. You hit the barrier, you go. If God called you in that direction, you're heading for your aim. Why does it slow us down? Because we don't like football. America loves football. People don't come to church on Sunday half the time because of football. They got to have football. They got to push forward. They get that concept. And then in their own life, they're like, why isn't God helping me? The concept. Same thing. Jesus gives us all sorts of parallels. Push forward. Push through. So when you see your goal, you see where God's called you, you got to stay on that course. Don't stop for the pit stops. Don't stop and think about everything. Head to your goal. And then remember Philippians 4:13, we talked about it last week. Paul said it. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God gives us the strength. God helps us. He sends us the protection. He gives us everything. You can beat the devil. It's not that hard. You can really make it through this. You're blessed. Remember, you're blessed. Tell yourself you're blessed. Look at the blessings. If you want to stop and have any level of nostalgia, it needs to be on the blessings that God has put in your life. Not about what you should have or what you could do, but what he's put in your life, because more is coming. He's already set it out there. That's why God acted quasi-annoyed when Moses and these guys are asking about the whole Red Sea issue. He's like, what, are you kidding me? I told you to go. This isn't that difficult. And oftentimes we're restricting ourselves for no reason. But it's a barrier that we put in our own head. If he can trust you with a little, he can trust you with a lot. We talked about that in our responsive reading today. So don't just stand there. Don't just stand there and start spinning in circles. Go forward. Will you please stand with me? We as the Car Community Church will always present Christ's open doors of heaven to everybody. If you'd like to make Jesus your Savior, simply say, Jesus, I'm sorry for my sin. Come into my heart, and I will serve you with all